Power lines that we see each and every day around southern Oregon are not built for certain weather conditions, like when there's an increased risk for fires. But because of that, power companies like Pacific Power are trying to do what they can to help fire-risk areas become more resilient through all sorts of weather conditions. Newswatch 12 had the chance to speak with the company's Vice President of Operations. Cameron, I know that Pacific Power mentioned grid hardening to reduce wildfires. Can you tell us how exactly that's going to reduce wildfires from happening, though?
Yeah, well, grid hardening is a term that gets thrown around a lot in the electricity power industry. And to break it down, Pacific Power will basically be replacing and rebuilding their materials and their systems and their equipment to make it more fire resistant and more extreme weather resistant, like a wildfire. Now, grid hardening is their biggest component towards wildfire mitigation. With the extreme weather we've been seeing, whether that's ice storms, snowstorms, or heat domes, windy conditions can knock branches over into power lines. This is what it will look like: rebuilding overhead bare wire lines to a cover conductor, essentially an overhead wire with an installation.
They hit that insulation instead of the bare wire and drop to the ground with having never created a fault, never created a spark, no outage, no potential for an ignition, no wildfire.
With grid hardening being the most visible thing customers can see with the rebuilding of the lines, another step Pacific Power is taking during wildfire season is getting into meteorology and data analysis, developing weather forecasting models showing them weather impacts to their system. Now, power lines that have fallen on the ground can cause a wildfire, but that also can be flipped. Wildfires can also damage power lines. So another thing that Pacific Power is doing for wildfire mitigation is using fire-resistant materials. So like a wooden power line pole, they can be replacing these with either steel or fiberglass material to make it more fire resistant. Now, coming up on Newswatch 12 at 6, hear when and where they're going to start their efforts for wildfire mitigation. Reporting live in Medford, I'm Cameron Baber, Newswatch 12.